Hey, I'm Rachel,
And I'm Amanda, and this is Beyond a Ballot.
powered by DoorDash.
Hello, and welcome to the Beyond a Ballot podcast. I'm Amanda Alvaro here with Rachael Siegel. Happy International Women's Day!
Woo! Tomorrow, but we should celebrate women every day.
We really should.
I feel like we do.
Especially in these times. It's a
Yes.
good time to celebrate women.
Are you doing anything special for International Women's Day?
I'm not in particular. Are you?
No, but a couple of days ago, I was like, I should do a brunch or something and have
nice.
women I love come. I didn't organize it because I'm a mom of 2 young children. And so these ideas come in my head and don't actually happen. But I think I will do it next year. I feel like
I love that idea. I've done that before.
Have you? Oh,
Yes, we held, it wasn't a brunch, but a couple of years ago, as part of my agency, Pomp and Circumstance, we hosted, it was a dinner, and we selected women who were at the top of their fields, but different fields. And we brought them all together. And then we posed questions to these women. And it was this really interesting night of dialogue and fun. And then we also had a wonderful photographer, Ryan Emberley, come out, and he took these beautiful portraits that were kind of like these moody portraits of each of the women.
that's
I know.
That's much bigger than my home event with some pretty cool women will be. But, maybe that's something Beyond a Ballot could do next year with some awesome women in politics.
I mean, this year is a cluster, you know what?
Yes,
between
no kidding.
Trump and the tariffs and the liberal leadership race and a possible
federal election.
It was we couldn't also do something for International Women's Day, but next year I think we should.
Absolutely. Okay, we're making that promise to you guys. But speaking of International Women's Day, I thought we could just take a minute and really think about our own lives and who it is, especially in the political world, that's impacted your journey. Who's your mentor? Woman, man, doesn't matter, but who has been there to support you along the way?
Well, when I think about, I've had the opportunity, as you have, to work with a lot of members of parliament and members of provincial parliament in my case, and even municipally interesting women who got me into politics in the first place. But I think the woman who's done the most in politics, so who certainly inspires me to the nth degree, would be Katie Telford,
fair.
who is a longtime friend of mine, but also the longest serving female chief of staff, and now just the longest serving chief of staff to a prime minister.
Right. Exactly.
She's the one. And she is in her, final days in this role. She has played a pivotal role in, the direction of the country and providing her counsel and her guidance and being kind of like a steady rock through some pretty tumultuous times. But she also reached kind of like the highest possible peak of politics if you're not running, right? If you don't run, being the chief of staff to the prime minister is up there. And
not a bad role.
Totally. It's been fascinating to watch her. It's been she's brilliant and talented and has had an absolutely phenomenal run. So she would for sure be my pick. What about you? I'm
going to go super partisan on this, but when I first moved to Ottawa, somebody gave me this book, and it was called Never Retreat, Never Surrender. And they said, read
this before, I think.
Have I? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well, for our mega fans that have heard this story, I apologize. But for those of you just hearing it for the first time, it was this book, and somebody gave it to me, and I read it every weekend. I would go for brunch near Parliament Hill at this place called the Rooster. I'm sure Atomic Rooster. Can you let me know if it's still there if you're listening from Ottawa? And I was on this very low salary. It was like $4.99 breakfast, but I would sit there and just read this book about this woman. And that woman is Deborah Gray, who was the leader of the Reform Party, I believe. At one point, I think she was the first woman opposition leader in Canada. And she was just her true authentic self, and very, very conservative woman. She's from Vancouver, so she was from the riding that I came from, that I grew up in. And so I kind of felt like this like strong connection to her, because we had come in the book. She talks about different places in Vancouver, and I was like, oh, you know, I went there as a kid too. But she also really talked about needing to stick to your guts, and to hold that your internal power in a really complicated world of politics. So as a young staffer that knew nothing about Parliament Hill, for me, that was a really interesting read, and it kind of guided my whole perspective on how you can navigate Parliament Hill. But going on, once I went to Parliament Hill, Lois Brown, who was the Member of Parliament from Newmarket, Ontario, she really talked to me a lot about what it's like to be a woman in politics. And to her credit, she used to have her hair blow dried in her office every week. And we were next door neighbors, and I would hear the blow dryer, and I'd be like, good for her. You know, like that's what made her feel great. That's when amazing. She was doing media and such. Yeah. And so I always like kind of looked at these women and thought like, women in politics are defining their own path, defining who they want to be. And, you know, because there's been so few women in the political arena, it's not like we have generations and generations of these role models, but I feel very lucky to have come into politics at a time where there were more women coming in, and women that wanted to support younger women. So she also taught me, Lois Brown, that a mic is always on. So if you're in the rotunda in center block, don't whisper, because somebody will pick you up on their microphone. That was great advice.
Love that. Good piece of advice.
Yes. So 2 women, but they're neither are involved in politics really anymore. So we'll have to find the new generation.
We will. We definitely will. We'll put it out there. Do you have a current mentor?
Oh, that's I do. The former Senator Linda Frum is a phenomenally brilliant woman. She's a former journalist. She comes from her mother was Barbara Frum, who was a very famous journalist in Canada. But I worked for Senator Frum years ago, and we have continued to stay very close. They always say, like, you see these memes online that are like, be friends with the woman that will mention your name in a room of opportunities. And holy, has she been that woman for me. Like, such a champion, such a supporter. She's there. She's got my back no matter what. And, you know, we've remained very, very close friends for many years. And she has always used the opportunity, her opportunities, to give me opportunity. So she's mine. Do you have one right now?
I love that.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
You know, I thought about this question before we got on today. And, you know, the truth is I don't.
Oh, interesting.
I feel really lucky. Like, a lot of people collect a lot of things. I collect wonderful friendships in my lifetime. And I'm surrounded by, you know, supremely talented, highly accomplished women who I feel like in many ways, in many facets of my life, they provide a form of mentorship, because there's different people that I go to for different things and different forms of advice and counsel, but never have I had kind of like one mentor. Never. Kind of interesting. Yeah.
Really? Even a male mentor, like one person that's kind of guided you?
I did once have a male mentor, but then he sued me. So
okay. Forget that.
That's a story for another day.
Oh my God.
Then he was never my mentor again.
Yeah, forget it. He sued me. Oh my God. That's hilarious. Well, yeah, we won't dive into that one.
No, that's another day.
It's kind of,
that was a curveball you weren't expecting, huh?
Not at all. Oh, yeah, but I'm going to get that story offline. the thing is, though, that's kind of true. And I think there's a lot of discussion right now about how we define mentorship. And like somebody doesn't have to be older than you or more experienced. Like I think that's a really incredible insight to realize the mentorship that your own peers provide you.
Totally.
And like, I just think of all my years working as a political staffer and how many of my colleagues like really led the way for me and showed me what to do. And, you know, they weren't technically mentors per se, but sure they were. They were people that were working in really complicated jobs, and so was I, and we all supported each other. So I think that there's also this like women working together in political houses, legislatures, the House of Commons. And I think we all just have this like unwritten rule that we have each other's back. Maybe not across party lines, but within your own party for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I have your back.
Yeah. Same. So anyways,
so, you know, sometimes it does cross the party line.
Exactly. Speaking of crossing party lines.
Yes.
Today is I'm calling this episode the Liberal Party. And this is frankly the first Liberal party that I've ever been invited to. So I'm really excited.
So let me ask you this. Are you the honorary Liberal today?
Absolutely not. I don't think I'll ever be. Wow.
I thought you were going to say absolutely. And I'm like, whoa, this is so great. Not even for the day. Not even for the hour.
No, I mean, I'm here really for the checks and balances to like try and learn about the Liberal Party and the leadership and what you guys are thinking right now. Okay. But yeah, not at the Liberal table yet, but maybe today we'll sell it for me.
Maybe we'll convince you.
Convince me. Yeah. So let's talk about the Liberal leadership before we get into it with our amazing guests, because there's so many questions. I don't know about you, but I'm getting a ton of people that are like, what is happening? The transition, of course, like is Justin Trudeau the prime minister after somebody wins this leadership on Sunday? Like, what are you feeling as a Liberal Party member going into Sunday?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I feel like the transition conversation has been coming up in the last few days. And, you know, we've heard the sources say that there's a lot of transition underway and the Prime Minister's office is preparing for the new leader, which obviously makes a lot of sense. But because it's like the perfect storm, because there's been so much to fill our news feeds, it's almost impossible to get to Monday in your head because it's like, you know, we're dealing with Trump tariffs. And then of course we have the leadership race. And then it's like, oh, right. And then we're going to have a new prime minister.
Right.
We're going to have a new prime minister. Like,
right.
Wow. And then, of course, all of the speculation around when the next federal election will be. So I think, you know, Liberals are still mostly talking about the race itself and, you know, getting to that finish line. And it's only a few days away. And, you know, there's a fairly complicated, it's not complicated, but it's like there's a very secure process to you're a registered Liberal to cast that vote. So people are really focused on that. They're really focused on, you know, there's 400,000 registered Liberals, getting as many of them to vote. 400,000 registered Liberals that can vote for this new leader. That's getting them to vote is so critically important. But if you think about it that way, it's like right now, I think that there's 175,000 give or take that have signed up to vote, that are eligible to vote because they've gone through this like verification process. It's like those people ostensibly are choosing the next prime minister.
They
Even
are
if it's for a few days, right?
Okay, but I'm going to give you the ostensibly because I'm going to say and you can write in because I'm about to put a conspiracy theory out there. But I think there could be a world where whoever wins this leadership doesn't even become prime minister. If they decide that Trudeau, what if Trudeau just goes to the Governor General and says, can you dissolve Parliament on Monday? And we go into an election with the new person as the leader of the Liberals, but they're never actually sworn in as Prime Minister. And I keep saying this.
Conspiracy theory. That's a
okay,
real
good.
Theory.
Yeah, that is my theory. Exactly.
That could happen.
I mean, from what I'm hearing from all the smart people around me, it's probably not going to happen, but I keep going back to it. And like, if I was somebody like Mark Carney, I don't know that I'd want to wear a 2-day prime minister or a 14-day prime minister title. We've had other prime ministers that have been very short, but never in the weeks. It's always months. And so I wonder if somebody like Mark Carney would say, let's just go to the polls and let's see if I can win this thing and become prime minister, or I can just walk away and I'll be a blimp in time.
So let me ask you this, because you always know these process questions.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, if you were to dissolve Parliament to go to the polls,
yep,
who then is acting in the role of
Trudeau?
Like, if you think so, he continues to be the prime minister
until a new prime minister is elected by the people.
So over the course, if the election is called on Monday, he continues to lead, while a new leader of the party is attempting to get elected.
That's right, because we don't elect prime ministers in this country. We elect parties, and that person would be the leader of the party. So Trudeau would remain on. To me, that's the cleanest way of doing this whole transition. But I haven't found a lot of support from any side on this idea. A lot of people are saying, like, traditionally it's about 2 weeks, the transition between prime ministers, when we've seen this happen before. That's a really long time. And given the polls that are showing that with Mark Carney in the leadership seat, the Liberals could pull off an election win. I think that their team is probably hoping to do this election sooner rather than later. So, and 2 weeks is an eternity, especially once he wins the leadership.
What do you mean by 2 weeks? What's happening in the 2 weeks?
So traditionally what's happening is that Privy Council office, kind of like the admin for the government, is organizing the turnover of the prime minister's office. So it's taking one team out and putting another team in. They get all the staffing for PMO. There's like a lot of like very administrative tasks that have to go through. And we saw reports yesterday that obviously some of this is already being done. But when you don't know who your leader is, like, you know, we've had wild leadership wins on the other side, like on the Conservative side, where we thought, like, for example, Peter MacKay was going to come in as leader. Aaron O'Toole was the one who won. And so imagine like vetting all these staff and then you have a different leader. So really, how much work are they doing beforehand? But all my friends that are like nerdy like me and like the process are saying 2 weeks is really kind of that period of time that they need to administratively switch over the prime minister's office.
But just for our listener and me, is it like, but Trudeau's not hanging out in the office with Carney, so to speak. They're not spending 2 weeks kind of sharing a desk.
Well, I mean, in some ways they are. I'm sure they will have conversations about like best practices and such. But I think Trudeau remains in that office until there is a new official prime minister brought in. The problem that people don't realize is that every aspect of this is kind of siloed. Like the tradition around this transition is separate from how we technically transition. So like he just has to sign the paper and he's the new leader. It's also a very crazy situation that we're looking at. You know, if he brings back the House, then he could be taken down in a vote of confidence on his throne speech. Like there's so many dynamics in this that are all siloed. Like every single thing is a different factor. And so all of us that are like, what is happening? Like we're just as confused as everybody else. We don't know.
Well, you know what the good news is? The good news is that we have two incredibly informed liberals who are joining us in just a moment. Long histories with the Liberal Party of Canada. They're going to talk to us about all things in the Liberal leadership race. So I think we should bring them in. What do you think?
I can't wait to start this Liberal Party. I'm so
Let's
excited. Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.
And now a word from our title sponsor, DoorDash. Just like we go beyond a ballot, DoorDash goes beyond delivery. Amid cost of living increases, 71% of Canadian Dashers surveyed say that dashing enhances their sense of financial security, providing extra income when people need it most. People like Christine, who can spend time with her family while supplementing her income.
My husband recently lost his job, so I've had to basically use DoorDash as an income replacement for the income that we're losing from his salary. So it's helping us to be able to survive. If I didn't have it, then I don't know what we would do. It still allows for me to be able to be there for the family, and it also helps to generate that lost income, which is a great benefit, and I'm so truly grateful for.
Our guests today are Suzanne Cowan, former longtime president of the Liberal Party and current, hold on, let me get this correct, chair of the Liberal Vote Committee. Big titles. And Susan Smith, a co-founder of Blusky Strategy Group, as well as the think tank Canada 2020. Both friends of mine. So happy to have you here. Welcome.
Thanks for having us, Amanda. And happy to be here with you, Rachel.
Yes, you guys too. I'm just so thrilled to be invited to this party of talking about the Liberal leadership, but also the Liberal Party itself at this point in time. So this is something that I wanted to do for a while, to really look at the party and what an amazing moment in time for the Liberal Party of Canada as we go into the leadership race with an announcement of a new leader on Sunday. And I really wanted to just by asking, at this moment in history, what is the Liberal Party? What does the Liberal Party stand for? What are they focused on? May I start with you, Susanna, as the former president?
Sure. I mean, I've been a member of the party for my whole life, grew up in the party. So, I mean, it's evolved and it changes. And, I think one of the things that I've liked as a Liberal, and I kind of speak to it my own, there'll be other people, it's different things to different people. But for me, it's really been a very kind of open, inclusive, relevant with the issues of the day, like right now and sort of, risen to the moment. And right now we have a big moment going on with our neighbors to the south, and we see what the current prime minister and I think he's been excellent. I think he's been excellent on the foreign policy front and on standing up to Trump and others for a long time. But the also things that really matter to me that I would have, my kids are a little bit older now, but would have been great is the national child care program. They don't have that anymore, but that was something that took us 2 tries. I mean, we had it come through a long time ago before before Harper came in a long time. It would have been a real game changer for us, and it didn't. And then by the time it came back with Karina and the work of the government there, my kids were older, but I know the impact that it's having. So very broadly, I have always found it to be a party that listens to what's going on and has been able to produce real opportunities in the moment. So whatever that is, and for me right now, it's protecting our jobs and it's protecting our people who are working and families, and also I do think, and then I'll give it to Susan, is understanding that we have a role to play in the world, and the impression that Canada gives and the pride that we have as Canadians, and making sure that that's reflected in what we're doing both at home but also abroad, like with what we're doing with Ukraine, what we did with Syrian refugees a long time ago. So it's a party I'm very proud of, that has done a lot of different things over the years, depending on what the need of Canadians were at the time.
Susan?
So the Liberal Party is a big tent, and I've been involved in it for a long time as well. I think most Canadians hang out in the middle of the spectrum. People don't think about where they are, but largely Canadians want the economy to be run well, and they want to look after the people who need help. So that's not a nickel for every single person who is standing with their hand out, but it's having a structure in our country that really helps the people who need it, but at the same time creates the economic conditions to make the country grow and thrive. So that's where I land in the Liberal Party. Some of us have like sub-labels like blue liberals. We're a little more on the fiscal side of things. Others are on more the heavy on the social policy side of things. But largely, as Suzanne said, it's a big tent, and it's a party that doesn't lean on dogma. It's more a party that leads on delivery, I think. And that's why I've always found a space in it. I don't always agree with every single thing the party does. I don't always agree with every single thing every leader does. But on the whole, I think it's a party that, believes in the country, doesn't think the country's broken, and finds a path forward to grow the economy and create the conditions that Canadians can step into if they need to.
And I think, too, that it allows for that discourse. Listen, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've had, over the years, lots of different discussions. Sometimes they stay in the policy rooms at conventions. Sometimes they spill out. But we've never shied away from having those tough conversations and landing, but then wrestling it to the ground and coming to resolution. So it is something, it's a big tent with a lot of diverse views, but a safe space to have those discussions.
So we're heading into a huge weekend, a weekend that's going to change the course of history. Suzanne, give our listeners a picture of what will happen over the next 72 hours. What does this lead up look like? What does the weekend look like? How does this culminate on Sunday? Kind of like just paint the picture for us.
Sure.
Right.
I'm getting anxiety.
Yeah, it's okay, Rachel. No. It's okay. We're going to have a prime minister at the end of it. Look, it's a really exciting time. We haven't seen anything in our recent history. We're all nice young. You guys are all younger than I am. But Prime Minister Trudeau stepped down January 6th. He triggered a leadership contest. You have 4 remaining candidates in it. And the next 72 hours, each of those candidates is trying to get their supporters to vote. The first thing they're trying to do is get them to get their ID accredited in a secure, tamper-proof, foreign interference-proof system that is proving to be a challenge for people. You have to do a live photo thing, then your driver's license, then your passport, then you have to get your ballot, and then you have to vote. So all of the candidates right now, so that's Mark Carney, Chrystia Freeland, Karina Gould, Frank Bayless, are trying to get their voters to vote on these online ballots. That's the big push till voting closes, and Suzanne will be able to tell you exactly what time that closes at. Sunday, it's the big reveal. So it used to be once upon a time, there were conventions and people would send delegates and there'd be signs and all kinds of craziness, and there'd be votes changing hands across the floor. The outcome will be revealed on Sunday. They're going to have Mr. Chrétien, former prime minister, a blue lib, Mr. Economy, Mr. Captain Canada too, in his own time. He stood up to Trump already. He'll be giving a speech, and there'll be some people in the room, and it'll be a big rah-rah, and they will announce the leader or the winner. The winner will become the leader of the Liberal Party. And because the leader of the Liberal Party currently right now is the Prime Minister of Canada, as chosen by Canadians, that person will go through a transition period, and they ultimately will become the Prime Minister. And then the question is, for how long? And when do we go to election?
Yeah. And I have to say about this, you plan a party and you hope that people come. And we've actually there's so many people that want to come to our party on Sunday, which starts at 5 p.m. Eastern, and you'll be able to watch it online and on TV. And there's huge interest. So we have, people coming in from across the country. A couple thousand people are going to be there in the room, which is a lot of people to pull together, in Ottawa in March. On a Sunday evening, but it's, and there's been a huge media interest, like hundreds of media are going to be there too. So it's going to be the big room. I guarantee there's going to be lots of red everywhere. Some Canadian flags, also red there. And I think it's an opportunity. We have these conventions every couple of years that a lot of the sort of like hardcores, like Susan and I, haven't missed one in a very long time. But, maybe others that might be too much. It's an opportunity to sort of come and see be, and there'll be an announcement, and it's a ranked ballot, right? So it might not be, and you have to win by over 50%. So there'll be the announcement of the first ballot, and then if no one gets 50%, then the one at the bottom drops off, then their votes get redistributed, and then they tell us 10 minutes later, but we'll see how quickly that happens. And then they come back out again. Rachel, I remember there was some delays with you guys with the last time with some of the tabulations.
Yes.
So when you do these things live, you never know. It's part of the excitement. But I mean, we're really looking forward to an opportunity to pick the new leader, to see who the new leader is. I mean, I'm super excited. We have 4 fantastic candidates. So, they're all extremely qualified, and we'll see who comes out. And very quickly after that, they'll be the leader right away. They'll, have to be sworn in as prime minister. They'll have to put together a cabinet and all those kind of government type of things, which luckily then gets shifted off to somebody that doesn't fall in our wheelhouse here. But it's an exciting and the neat thing when I was talking to people about trying to get my own family and others to make sure get through the tricky but very secure verification process in order to vote.
Is it secure? We can't tell. Everybody's reiterating. Very secure.
Very secure.
All of those words, they all apply. But even though, they might take a few tries to get through with the process, but I just before I jumped out here, people are like, I voted. People are excited. So there's been a build up to get their vote. There'll be a build up to the weekend. And then, we're off to the races. Well, I don't know when, the next election is going to be, but I think we would all agree the race starts now with whoever the new leader is. It's the unofficial campaign is underway, as you can tell by radio, billboards, and television.
So this is what I wanted to put to you, because as somebody that's worked in political parties before, are the Liberals nervous that they are working on this Liberal leadership race and then will soon after potentially go into a full general campaign? Because what people don't realize is that leadership races are expensive. General elections are expensive. Is there a contingency for the Liberal Party to be able to fundraise or, allocate resources? If I was running the Liberals, I'd be panicking about just resources.
So, I mean, I think if Azam was on this call, who's our national director, wonderful guy. I mean, he lives in a constant state of readiness.
I don't blame him.
I will say. But listen, I have to say that we have had a fantastic, we've had our best first quarter, so January, February to the end of March that we've ever had of the party, and we still have another month to go. So the money is coming in, the volunteers, the energy of this campaign is really, I think, rejuvenated a lot of Liberals that maybe kind of had moved away or got a little tired, or and a lot of them are coming back. And so, and we train our volunteers and we train our organizers all the time. I mean, that training is ongoing at the party. So I think, and I used to say this when I was the president, and I still believe it now that I'm past president because I see it all the time, that we're ready. I mean, I think a modern political party is the same way I'm sure the Conservatives are. They're ready. You get all of the necessary pieces lined up because, we just don't know when any of this stuff's going to go. But from a fundraising point of view, from an enthusiasm volunteer, and from an organization and from a candidate getting them on side, organized, ready to go, all of that is in place and that never stopped. I mean, we had the leadership, but we had an election co-chairs and an election director who were working on this all at the same time. So is it nerve-wracking? Absolutely. But it's politics. So it's nerve-wracking, exciting, and we'll see how it all plays out and when.
So, Rachel, totally fair question. The one thing that's been interesting about this leadership race, and I'm going to put my hand up and say I'm actually a Mark Carney fan, and I respect all the candidates, but I'm going to out myself as a Carney fan. Okay. But there's a reason in relation to this question, and it's because Carney is new to the race. Carney is new in terms of his attachment to the party. He's actually raised $4 million since the beginning of January. So that will shift over into the party. Right. And the other thing with having the momentum behind a fresh candidate who's never been part of it is it brings new people to the mix. So for listeners, there's a lot of people who've like, they've kind of heard of him. They're looking at what the options are as they deal with Trump. And they're going, hang on, I was mad at Trudeau, but he's out of the picture now. So now what do I do? And so they're taking a look at Carney and they're taking a look at Mr. Poilievre, and they're having a look at their, the years of experience Mr. Carney has as an economist and running the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. And they're looking at the years of experience Mr. Poilievre has as a member of parliament. I'm going to say practicing these question period clips and telling us the country's broken. And they're going to do that evaluation. So I don't want to make the Conservatives listeners mad. I don't want to make the Liberal listeners mad. But I think what we're going to do, we have some energy into a campaign that we maybe weren't going to have. And I would say as a country, we're elbows up. Thank you, Mike Myers. And because of Donald Trump attacking us, people aren't grumpily they're not grumpy about going into this campaign, or they're not grumpy at Canada. They're grumpy at Trump. And that makes it a little more interesting.
Susan, let me stick with you for a minute, because I'm curious about this question. This is a question that we're getting a lot. Like, is this a one-person race, or do we believe the Chrystia Freeland campaign that gap has closed, that it's not going to be a first ballot win? I want your perspective on this. What do you expect to see on Sunday?
Yeah, so two things. I think if this secure voting process that we talked about had not been quite so onerous, it's good that it's onerous. I think we would automatically see it. Not automatically, we'd see a first ballot win with Carney. Like, I think, I think the momentum is significant. The number, when you raise that amount of money, there are, over 10,000 donors to his campaign.
Right.
So I think that alone could have converted to a first ballot win. It might go to a second ballot win. I think Ms. Freeland, highly competent individual, no question. But the numbers as it plays out in the fundraising and the memberships, to me, doesn't align that way. I don't think it's a one-person race. They were vigorous debates, but I do think that Carney has the advantage. And if you look at all of the polling across the country and where the Liberals' numbers are closing the gap between Mr. Poilievre and the Conservatives' numbers, it's with Carney in the lead. And I think Liberals will bear that in mind.
Okay. Suzanne, do you agree with that?
So I am absolutely neutral on this because of my role on the leadership. But there's a lot of information out there, and I think there has been an opportunity. Listen, we had a French debate, we had an English debate. They've had a lot of opportunity to have a discourse. I love that people were like, there wasn't so much anger at the debates. Like, well, we're all liberals. It's an internal thing. We all, we have different views, but we all live within the same general area. We'll leave the more vigorous debates to the general for whoever wins from there. But I don't think that this has been a one-person race. I really don't. And people. I love the fact that there has been this interest, because this thing, this leadership came together so quickly, and now, it's only 72 more hours to go. So we'll see. But, to have the high quality people that stepped in and ran and were out there and bringing new people to the party and bringing money and bringing their organization and energizing the base. One person can't be the only one energizing the party. And so I do think that all of them have contributed to where we are now, which is a place I'm very optimistic about. Bullish, some might say.
Well, I was saying before to Amanda that we had a leadership race on the Conservative side where Peter MacKay was the front runner to win, came out, Erin O'Toole became the leader. And I think a lot of Conservatives were really surprised at that. And so you never really know with a leadership race. We could be talking about Chrystia Freeland or Karina Gould, who I thought did a great job at the debate talking about liberal values and the need to be liberals. So if I was a liberal, she'd have my vote. But I want to put to you the question.
We're so open, Rach. And I offer this up to you on the daily, It's a big,
I know,
my friend.
Well, one day I'll buy what you're selling, but today is not that day. So I want to put to you, I want to put to you this idea of the Liberal Party brand, because there was so much talk when Justin Trudeau decided to step down, saying that it really, that he had damaged the Liberal Party brand. And regardless of whether or not he stepped down, it would always be damaged. What we're seeing now is kind of a resurgence and a rallying around Mark Carney in the polls. Do you believe, or can you just tell us what your response to that question of is the Liberal Party brand damaged? And if so, how do the Liberals position themselves if we go into a campaign potentially next week? I'll start with Susan. Yeah.
I think the ballot question is going to be Trump, and it's not, and who's best to stand up for Canada in the face of Trump. And I think in this election, Suzanne might not be happy with me in this. I think in this election, more than any other, it's much less about the party and more about who can defend the interests of the country and who broadly, maybe broadly reflects the values. Like, who do you have the most confidence in? So in this case, I think, for example, the people who've been diehard NDPs, they'll retain some of their vote, but I think the rest is going to melt away. And some of it will go to the Conservatives. Like, I think people in British Columbia, it tends to split more NDP Conservative. I think in other parts of the country, it could come back to the Liberals. You really don't hear people talking about Jagmeet Singh and the NDP this time around. It really is down to not even Liberals and Conservatives. It's really down to Carney and Poilievre. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's the way it's going to be, because we have that big orange guy south of the border that's messing the entire world and our economy.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in, absolutely. So I agree with everything Susan's saying. I see the party as the vehicle to organize our volunteers and our organization and do the fundraising that allows all of our candidates to go out there and talk to Canadians. Because most Canadians they're not like us. We're they don't identify with a political party. They identify with an issue or a local candidate who's running for them. So the party being strong and the brand that brings, I mean, that's, I see renewed excitement for sure. I've been at this very long time, and there's an enthusiasm out there that just did not exist, for any number of reasons. Pick your reason, pick the region you're in of the country. There were all sorts of different things. But I think that the brand is what's helping us get the party ready so that we can do what Susan needs, which is to support our leader and our candidates in the fight that we'll beat. I completely agree that this period of time is about Trump, because it impacts all of the other issues. If you care about this, how does what's happening between our Canada-US, how is that being impacted? And looking at whether it's our new leader or whether it's Pierre, that's going to be the one that's going to be able to stand up to Trump and deliver for what Canadians are caring about. And that's what the election is going to be about. And the brand of the party is strong. And because you see it by the fundraising, and you see it by the volunteers that are signing up, and you see it by the fact that there are 400 national news organizations going to be there on Sunday, and thousands of people flying in to come. So, but that just earns us the right and the platform to have those conversations on the ground every day of the campaign, and every day starting Monday with Canadians.
So we don't have much time left. And so I want to pose this question. If you had asked me even, just like a couple of months ago, what was the fate of the Liberal Party, I would have had a very different answer than I have today. And Rachael and I talk about it all the time, this somewhat surprising turnaround as we've watched this enormous gap between the Conservatives and Liberals virtually close. Is a somewhat snap election in the horizon? Will we be in an election in the next 4 weeks? I want your best predictions of where we might find ourselves. And I know you hate to be asked this on a podcast, but who's going to take that election? I know, right? No, we might as well just put it out there. Why not? Yeah. Why not? We can do these things.
Listen, let me start. Then I'll let you, because mine will be less. I listen. I am highly optimistic that Liberals are very good campaigners, and that whenever the election should be, and I am sorry, not going to take the bait and predict what I think it's going to be, because
why not?
But I'll leave that to. I mean, I think it's coming sooner rather than later. Let's go with that. But whenever that is, we're going to be ready, and we are very good campaigners. We know how to run good campaigns. So do the Conservatives. They are excellent at messaging. They have lots of money, and they run good campaigns. But we are in it in a way that, I think a few months ago, it would have been a harder sell, but I feel very, very, very good about where we are. If 8 weeks has made a huge, huge difference. So whenever the election is, sometime before the fall. But over you, Susan. I don't know. You might be a little more
behind me, and that's what would have happened 8 weeks ago. All the way across the country, you would have seen a blue wall of Conservatives, because people were mad at Mr. Trudeau. They were done with him. Right? 10 years. They're like, okay, he stepped aside. He's not the question anymore. I do think we're going to be in an election in the next 4 weeks. Here's why. There's momentum in the Liberal Party around a leadership. People are talking about the Liberals, and they're talking about Trump. They're talking about the economy. The other reason is the Conservatives have a massive war chest. They are excellent fundraisers. They have tons of money. And when you trigger an election, there are rules about how much money that can be spent within that election period. So the longer the new leader of the Liberal Party waits, the more the Conservatives can spend of that war chest, and it doesn't count against their election spending. So that is one of the reasons you'll see it allow both parties to be on a level playing field from a dollar perspective. And then I think Canadians, we like elections. We don't like elections. You're going to hear a lot of slogans. You're going to hear a lot of clips. I'm going to tell you the debate's probably going to be a bit one-sided. Mr. Poilievre is going to be snappy with his clips because that's what he's good at. Mark Carney's an economist, but he's really smart. And I joke and I keep saying to people, he should stand up and say, because I think he's going to win, "Hi, I'm Mark Carney. I've spent the last 30 years working in finance and the economy. I haven't spent the last 26 years working on my question period sound bites. So let's talk about the economy." But I think that's what's going to happen. I think we'll be in an election. We're going to have a new prime minister designate on Sunday, regardless of who one of those four candidates. And then I think in 8 weeks or so, we'll have a prime minister who will be the one that will be standing up to Trump for the time to come.
I know you guys don't have this answer, but I think this is what's on people's mind. What does that transition look like? Like you call him the whoever or her that comes in as leader, the prime ministerial designate. Yeah. But like, what does Monday morning look like for the Liberal team?
So there's some official. So Prime Minister Trudeau has to step aside and hand the reins over.
Right.
There's paperwork. There's important behind the scenes stuff that's part of parliamentary procedure and part of change of government. That's why we have so much stability in our government in Canada. Then the new leader has to choose a cabinet. That cabinet will be sworn in, and the person will be sworn in as prime minister. So until Mr. Trudeau and the new person will decide when that swearing in date is. I think it'll be, Suzanne might know better than I, but she won't say. I think a week would be super tight, but they're not going to let it go too much longer than that because the Conservatives can spend against them in all that time.
Right.
So maybe,
I think it's going to happen pretty quick.
Yeah.
And there'll be a caucus meeting. So there'll be, one of the first things they're going to do is all of our Liberal MPs are going to get together on Monday. And there's going to be, Trudeau is going to be there and the new leader is going to be there. And, that transition happens. He or she immediately becomes the leader of the party and very quickly. Like, I think a week is a lifetime in politics. I think it's going to happen.
Okay, maybe I'm gonna put my theory to you, Susan, because maybe you can play into this. I believe that Justin Trudeau can ask the Governor General to dissolve Parliament, and that the next person would not even become Prime Minister before the next election. Is that
do that?
Okay? So the Liberals aren't thinking that.
No. No, and Mr. Trump, and I'm not suggesting you're thinking this, Rachel, Trump has like gone even more batshit when it comes to, sorry.
Oh, swear away when it comes to Trump.
He loves
by all
swearing.
means.
He's been tweeting today like that Trudeau is trying to make a power play and he's going to stay. That is not happening.
No.
Justin Trudeau is the outgoing prime minister. On Sunday, you'll know who the next person is. That person will dissolve parliament. There'll be no shenanigans around that. So it'll be if and when the person could choose to go back to parliament on the 24th, parliament could resume. I don't see that happening. I see us going to election more quickly.
Wow. More quickly than the 24th. Whew, we got to get ready.
Oh, you're ready.
Oh my gosh. You guys got to get ready. Everybody's got to get ready.
We're ready.
My stress level is very high now.
Well, on that note, we'll have to have them back so that we can talk about election readiness and what this campaign looks like in just a couple of weeks. We know how busy you are. This is a tremendously busy time for everyone who's involved with the party or involved with one of the campaigns. So we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy lives to share some of your thoughts and insights with us. Best of luck this weekend.
Best of luck.
I look forward to celebrating with you on the other side.
Yeah,
that's all we have for now.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening. New episodes air every Friday.
Subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and find us at beyondaballot.com.